Hey there, beautiful soul. Today I'm going to share with you realizations and a method that has helped me to stop living under the influence of shame and guilt. These emotions can lock us in a miserable, low self-worth state of being if we don't detach from them. And I'm speaking as a person who has experienced these emotions a lot. We can feel shame and guilt in different circumstances, situations, conditions. And the question is, are we aware of them when it's happening? Emotions of shame and guilt is associated to low self-worth and not feeling good enough. Many of us has had situations when we did not want to get rejected, humiliated, judged, or lose our perceived social status. Instead, we wanted to be approved, accepted, loved. Here's an example. A guy wants to ask a girl out, a girl that he likes, and he would rather ask her out, but he feels very insecure about himself and he decides not to do it. He doesn't want to get ridiculed or shamed by taking action and asking her out. Instead, he backs down. And he has some sort of shame towards himself that he feels that the way he is and also his actions are not good enough. So he backs down. And so this guy's becoming a people pleaser. He is pretending someone that he is truly not in the moment and not being authentic. He is afraid to be vulnerable, to express his true feelings in the now. In general, shame and guilt are emotions that are related to thoughts that indicate that something is wrong with us, or something that we did were wrong, and the way we are, we're not okay. It's not advisable to express our true feelings. There is basically thinking that I don't deserve that, I can't do that, I am not that, etc. And it's very unloving and unkind act towards yourself. But the paradox is that if we back down from the action that we would rather want to take, but instead we back down because we don't want to be rejected by others, what happens is, first and foremost, in that moment, we reject ourselves first from expressing our true feelings. And that's very sad. In that moment, when you feel shameful towards yourself or some sort of guilt, your energy field shrinks, and it's very repelling. It repels others and other good opportunities in your life because you feel that you don't deserve. One of the common contexts when people feel shame and guilt towards themselves is when they lose something or something ends in their life. And here is my example. When my last relationship ended, I also felt very strong pain inside of me. I was very attached to that relationship, and when it suddenly ended, it highlighted very strongly for me that deep inside I was feeling shame and guilt. And when I felt this shame and guilt, there are certain thought patterns. When I recall the past moments, memories of my relationship, it was like some part of me was trying to punish myself, to put blame on myself, that I was the reason how bad it went and what happened. And so there was a torturing part inside of me. And whenever a memory of relationship came up, this part was trying to focus on all the negative details, how I fucked up my relationship, how I failed, how wrong I did. And so it was very self-loathing experience, constantly reminding myself how bad of a person I was, how I screwed up, how I did harm to others. And when this happened, naturally I felt shameful about myself, about my actions, and I felt guilty what I did. But the truth was that this inner feeling of shame and guilt was already there before my last relationship. It was before relationship, and it was also during the relationship, not just when it ended. So these external circumstances or conditions just triggered what was already inside of me. So relationship per se was not the cause. It only highlighted. And when I was not in a relationship, a part of me very craved it and thought that it would fulfill me. But when it happened, I was still not fulfilled because I still felt shameful towards myself. And when I was in a relationship, it was less noticeable because there were also other things happening during that time, and I was less aware during my relationship that I had this very deep sense of shame and guilt towards myself. And this shame and guilt was subconsciously engraved in me, and I was acting out of it quite often, and my behavior was such that hurt not just me, but also other people. And it was difficult for me to allow others to be the way they are and accept them fully as they were. And that contributed very negatively to my relationship. You might ask, shouldn't we reflect about our own failures in the past? And I will say you this. There is one distinction that is very important to understand, and that is reflecting constructively about our own past versus beating ourselves up about past failures over and over again. Do you see the difference? One is constructive and conscious approach. Another one is dysfunctional, ego-driven, suffering-based. Of course, it's very beneficial for us to reflect and analyze what we did, how we did it, what went wrong, what went good, etc. And when the deep insights come, there is no need to overly repeat the same old past thinking. No need to keep living in this old disempowered poor me narrative story. Okay, you see your mistakes, your failures, how you maybe hurt someone else. Okay, you acknowledge that without judgment. You strive to adjust your behavior so that does not happen again, and you move on. You move on with your life. There is no need to keep yourself beat up, how bad you screwed up and how maybe poor life choices you made back then. It doesn't help you, it's not serving at all. In fact, it keeps you in a victim mentality. Oh, look at me, poor me, please cry with me. And so it's not empowering, it's very disempowering. So what is the key in all of this? The key is becoming aware of the link between your thinking and the emotions that you feel in the moment. In this case, it's very important to become alert of your mental narratives and stories that are associated with the feeling of shame and guilt. So when the time comes when you feel shame and guilt, and if you are not immediately sure what kind of thoughts caused them, ask yourself, why am I feeling in this way right now? What thoughts caused me to feel like this? Or when you become aware of a thought that made you feel judgmental to yourself, ask yourself, how does that make me feel? And you ask this question if you already are not aware that after this thought followed a certain emotion, that of shame, guilt, or some other emotion. And the key is to see the link between your thinking and emotions that come out of it afterwards, and see what kind of reaction your thinking is creating inside of you. What kind of feelings in your body, what kind of emotions, what kind of reactions, how it influences your behavior, your perception, your choices, preferences, etc. When the shame and guilt is triggered in you and you become aware of it, when you become aware of it and you observe yourself continuously, these emotions cannot have an effect on you anymore. You disrupt this negative thinking and emotional pattern of yours that was controlling you before. When you observe yourself and you become aware of yourself, then grip of these emotions, you are not in the grip of these emotions anymore, simply. And disruption doesn't mean suppression. It's just you are aware, and when you are aware, it naturally evaporates, and you're letting it go. There is no forced willpower. I don't want to feel them. So no, there is no resistance. You're allowing. You see, and then they go away. Of course, thoughts of shame and guilt can return later back again. How often and how fast? Well, that depends. It depends on multiple things. one of which is your level of awareness, how alert you stay throughout the day. Another one is how big is this accumulated energy field of pain inside of you. If it's very strong, old, then it can take quite time in order for it to be dissolved and transmuted. And when you remain aware of your thinking and of your emotions, then over time, gradually, this energy field starts to transmute. Yes, as I said, old memories and thoughts can pop up from time to time, but when they do, and if you have already cultivated self-observing, then when the old memories and thoughts pop up, there is no more old inertia behind them, and they cannot easily pull you in the negative thinking stream, and they cannot use your mind anymore so easily to cause suffering. So over time, what is happening, you start to see old memories and old thoughts as neutral, and also you become detached from old meanings, old stories, narratives, thinking about certain past event or memory that previously caused you tremendous feeling of pain and suffering inside of you. You become, in general, more calm towards old memories and old past events, and when this happens, it's a good indicator that you are progressing in your journey and you are growing, and you are not so attached to the old thoughts, old thinking. And the better you feel overall, that is also a good indication that you have progress. But it's not about excluding the negative things in your life, because then that would again mean suppression and causing resistance and not allowing the old thoughts, emotions and energy to dissolve and transmute. So the key is to stay present whenever and whatever is showing up in your life, what kind of feelings and thought patterns are showing up again and again and again. And you allow them to be there until naturally there is no interest in them, and you just let them go and they just... Our feelings and how we feel is a great indicator how we view ourselves, our life. So my invitation is to check in with yourself throughout the day. If you feel bad, or you notice that your overall well-being or state of being is starting to go down, then that's an indicator that some kind of thinking is involved, which makes you perceive yourself in a negative manner. So the more you will embody this check-in with yourself, the more you will ensure that previously unconscious thought and emotion patterns won't be able to sustain their control over you anymore. Many people instead decide to distract themselves from the pain they're feeling. They're using all kinds of measures. They don't want to address that, and that won't work in the long term. This suppression will only cause bigger inner resistance and friction inside of you until something terrible can potentially happen in your life, with you or surroundings. So my invitation is, instead of distracting yourself from this inner pain that many people, the thought of staying one-on-one with the self is very frightening and very uncomfortable, but it's necessary for you to heal. This feeling is not there just in a random manner. It's here to help us, to guide us back to our health, our healing. It's a help, it's a blessing to help us adjust and get back to our life path. So my invitation is, whenever there is a unpleasant feeling inside of you, let that serve as an indicator for you that you have identified with negative thinking towards yourself that makes you feel this way. And when you apply this, then the only thing that can happen is it will overall and gradually strengthen yourself, and you will definitely grow. How am I practicing staying alert during the day? One of the way how I do it is I put focus on my body, or you can also call it as the energy field of my inner body. And it looks like when you pay attention to certain parts of your body, or if you are able, you can even focus on all of your body, that you feel all of your body. But in the beginning you can start with palms and feet. Usually the easiest for people to feel their body is when they focus their attention on palms or feet. So that's one way. Another thing is, when I am engaged in a certain activity or work that I do, I pay attention to that, and rest of my awareness is used for observing what's happening in my mind and other surroundings. So I basically split my awareness, because if people also put too much emphasis on what they are currently doing, then doing can also consume them, and then they also lose their conscious presence in the process. Process can overtake the person. And one of the sources or references that I would recommend for a lot of people is the teachings and work of spiritual teacher Eckhart Tolle. I hope that this video helped you, and I invite you to practice presence like your life depends on it, because it truly does, and it can pay great benefit back to you over time.